Hi there. Welcome to Conversations, where we seek to advance your leader and team excellence by discussing relevant topics that impact today's organizations. Welcome to the show. Hey there, leader, and welcome to Conversations for Leaders and Teams, where today we have Gary Payne as a fully credited executive leadership coach who brings direct personal experience as a first-time CEO, longtime P&L leader, and executive search consultant to his clients. He is an active coach to senior executives and organizations in North America with a particular focus on working with first-time CEOs, high-potential leaders, and professional services partners and principals. He is a member of the North American Leadership Advisory Practice for Odgers Berndtson, a UK-based global executive search firm, and leads the coaching practice for the US. He brings a specific focus and expertise on developing emotional intelligence in leaders to drive next-level transformation. In addition to one-on-one executive coaching, Gary is also a qualified practitioner of systemic leadership team coaching. Gary, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. I've really been looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Tell us where you're coming from today.
I am coming from my office in downtown Houston, Texas.
All right. And how is Houston, Texas these days?
We are still recovering from our ice storm, I guess, from a couple of weeks ago. But I'd say we're 95% of the way there, and still a lot of pipes to be fixed.
Yes. Well, we're glad to have you here today. We're glad that you are recovering there in Texas. That was quite a blow to the community. And for me, living in Florida, I mean, I experience hurricanes, right? We see that. And so when it was like, oh my gosh, they have snow and they don't have power. And it was like, oh my goodness, just crazy.
Yeah. The grid in Texas is meant to handle a hurricane and that type of thing. But we are not prepared for 8-degree weather on 3 consecutive days. It's just we weren't prepared. So anyway,
well, better days are ahead.
That's right.
Always.
There are leadership challenges in the state's power grid, I can assure you.
That's right. Lessons to be learned there.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh, well, today we're going to be talking about first-time CEOs, but I'd love to hear, first, let's just kick around. What has your journey been with leader development and your coaching journey? Let's talk a little bit about that and hear from you.
Yeah, I thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Really, my journey to the function of providing leadership development services really started back when I became a first-time CEO for a private equity-backed construction services company back in 2002, and I grew that business. We more than tripled the size of the organization. And I grew it to the point where we were going to exit it. Unfortunately, the time frame that we were going to do that was the financial crisis of 2008, and the value for construction companies, construction services firms that worked in the home builder space suffered greatly. So it was a difficult exit, but that whole experience of being a CEO, growing the business, and then having to manage through a crisis was really the inflection point that led me to where I am today, where my passion is to. I believe that across the world today, there's a leadership crisis in place, and politically, in governments, and in businesses, and in the overall society as a whole. And so, what my purpose is to find a way to make a dent in that crisis and improve the situation with the quality of leaders that we bring to address the challenges that we have organizationally as governments and individually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So what were some of the challenges? I mean, when we talk about, there are always crises. It seems like we could be putting out fires, executive leaders or having our management teams putting out those fires. When it comes to the CEO level, there is so much on a CEO's shoulder. So when you kind of reflect back to those times where you were in crisis mode,
mhm.
what got you through during that time?
Well, it was a very, very difficult time because there was this weighing of the financial considerations of the organization and a declining marketplace with my team and the people within the company that we had grown this business and developed it. So the challenge of balancing those two factors, the people factor with the financial factor, was one that uh, was the most difficult challenge in my life. It was a very, very difficult time, and the way to do it is I called on a set of mentors. The board that we were working with was, they wanted to basically cut and run. And so I was dealing with a lot of different factors in order to be able to exit this business and to sell it. And we ended up coming to a good solution. It was certainly not what we were hoping for, but we did come to a good solution. And I think the ability to develop teams with common purposes and common goals was what really was the most impactful thing that got us through the crisis situation.
Yeah.
So
And those are some pretty big and important words. I mean, we're both executive coaches. We know that we
right.
come alongside of leaders and teams and really creating that space for them to reflect on those things, the common
Mm-hmm.
purpose, what are the shared values, all those things that are so important that can have such an impact and add value to the journey of the organization as a whole. That's
That's
why,
right.
I really enjoyed hearing you say that, because even back then, I mean, this is the work that you're doing, but even back then when you were going in crisis mode, you understood that. And I think that's a true attribute of a leader, of a solid leader,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that, because too many times we have, leaders that they are leader in title only,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and they need people to come alongside of them,
That's
right?
right. That's right. It's almost as if you learn as you continue in leadership roles, and especially you and I as executive leadership coaches. We see that the leaders of these organizations have to lead through their teams,
Yes.
and the way to do that is very, very it's difficult to establish that type of a relationship with the team, where the team operates as a unit pursuing common goals and objectives, and in my mind, most importantly, a common purpose.
Yeah.
And that's where I get passion, is helping to instill
Woohoo.
that purpose in individuals and their teams. So
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah.
what might be a way when you're working, without giving away the farm here, but when you're working with a team, what does that look like? Like when they engage with you?
Well, let's take maybe a current example, may be good, that that we can do, and I can talk in generic terms here about some of the work that we're doing as team coaches, and I know that that's part of your journey as well,
Yes.
and so we're on the same journey, you and I, on in that regard. But I have a leadership team, a CEO, and her team that we're working with, that is in the middle of a major change in their organization around the ESG phenomena. And ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance considerations. And it used to be back before the pandemic that this focus on the environment and social issues and the way the organization is run was a nice to have. It was a part of a sound business strategy, if you will. Fast forward 12 months since the pandemic happened in March of last year to now implementing ESG capabilities for a leadership team is a requirement. It is what is expected today. Is how is your organization going to impact the greater environment? Mm-hmm. How is your organization going to be an effective contributor to the social environment that we're in with issues like diversity and inclusion? The amount of diversity and inclusion work that is going on in organizations today, thankfully, has ratcheted up over the last 6 to 9 months. And so yes, these are major changes and trends that leadership teams have to face, and an ever-growing list of stakeholders that before were never even considered, and now these new stakeholders are need to be served and need to be accounted for, and value needs to be developed for those. This organization that I'm working for, even in their office supply scenario, the supply chain for office supplies, they are now looking at, okay, what are the sustainability concerns of my suppliers that supply basic office supplies? That was never a consideration for anyone in a procurement organization before. It was, lowest price, delivery, and so forth. Now, the overall aspect of who we do business with as leaders, we have to ensure that those individuals have the proper environmental, social, and governance considerations that our organization does. So it's just an ever-growing plethora of new stakeholders that need to be served, and that's a challenge for leadership teams these days, for CEOs. And it's I don't think that the amount of change that is coming at leadership teams these days is going to go down. I mean, I'm sure you're seeing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm also hearing here, Gary, is around the change of how coaches come and partner with teams. That's right. And with senior leadership, because before it was the remedial. We're calling a coach in because, you're not making your mark and we need to get a coach in, to help and support you. And now it's really about that wider lens and how are we serving our stakeholders? Who are our stakeholders? And, and organizations, even, CEO levels, they may not even be understanding who those stakeholders are until they have, a team coach come in and start really unpacking and facilitating conversations around, who are those voices that we need to be listening to? What would they be saying if they're in the room? So it's a whole different dynamic and a shift from the old way of how we're saying, one-to-one coaching. Now we're moving into this team coaching dynamic and all that brings. It's fascinating.
And it's interesting. If you look at I was thinking about this earlier today. If you look at the world when I was the CEO back in 2005, we did 360 assessment reports, and a lot of those assessment reports were, focused on me as the CEO, and so it was very interesting to get. It was actually humbling in many ways to see how you were really seen by members of your group. Now the 360 assessment work not only considers that, but also we go out and assess stakeholders, outside parties to the organization that and these aren't just clients. I mean, we've, companies have always done stakeholder reviews of clients, satisfaction and, continued revenue growth and the like. But now we are having to serve this an ever-growing list of stakeholders, and we have to assess the value that we're giving to them. That's and then work with these teams to, and you use these words, co-create the way forward of how to serve these leadership teams and or these stakeholders. And you and I have talked about this in the past, that we're moving from the concept of a high producing, highly effective leadership team to a high value creating leadership team, because the value creation out of that leadership team is going to, at the end of the day, determine their success or failure to their stakeholders.
That's right. That's right. That bottom line.
That's right. That's right.
For sure.
Frankly, when I was a CEO and I began that journey, probably I would say that I would put 90% weight on the shareholder as the primary stakeholder. That was the culture of business back in 2002, 2003. Now, the stakeholders, the shareholder is still a stakeholder for sure. That's right. But they are no less important than the employees, the culture, and all these other aspects that the organization has to serve. Yeah. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. I think that's why we are both so passionate about, this new way of thinking, and really, team coaching is in its infancy. A lot of people don't understand it. They don't know, who to call or what approach, somebody is going to take. And I think for CEOs, when they're looking to engage in relationships with an executive coach, with a team coach, it's really important to be interviewing, different coaches and seeing what they can bring. But it's also important to understand that it's not just like a once and done contract. It is a continuous contracting process that we go through, depending on what the needs are of the organization, what the needs are of senior leadership or team, whichever level that we're coming in and working with. That is so important.
That's right.
So education is really key.
That's right. That's right. The level of ambiguity that that leadership teams are facing, and that we are all having to face individually. We have to be more comfortable with uncertainty in our lives these days, because things change so rapidly, and that's why part of the journey of a team coach, of you and I with a team, is a continual process of recontracting in order to address these changes that are going on in the world. And I think it's a lot of this is being driven by the focus on ESG, the environment and social and the governance aspect of how a business is run. So.
Yeah. A totally different way of looking at things. And, our world is ever changing, and the older I get, I know the smaller our world gets. And so it doesn't matter if we're, working with people here in the US or abroad, those trends, they may look and feel a little bit different depending on where you are, but they're still there. They're still very important to be looking at and saying, how can we partner with people to help us get to and add value for those stakeholders?
That's right.
And, CEOs are, it can be very lonely at the top.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the things that, I've talked to both first timers or young, newer CEOs, as well as veterans, and the aspect of dealing with your emotions and dealing with the fear and the almost 24/7 nature that the role almost forces on you. So things like personal wellness and aspects like that. These are things that a lot of people, I did not consider the impact of my emotions and being seen. It was like throughout my career, even when I had led P&Ls before becoming a CEO, I reported to a CEO. So I had a boss, I had peers, and so forth. Now I don't have either. As a CEO, I don't have a boss per se within the organization, right? I do have the board that the CEO reports to, but that's different. Basically, I didn't have a boss, and I didn't have any peers, and so the way that you work. And the words that you say, the off-cuff words that all of us tend to use, as we're walking the halls and so forth. If the CEO, makes an off-cuff remark that will be determining of a thought process that nobody else in the organization realized, that can have a huge impact.
Sure can.
On the culture of the company. So. It's you really have to watch your emotions and how you deal with your emotions as a CEO. That's why the concept of emotional intelligence has grown as an important aspect of that. And veteran CEOs have to continually check how am I doing with my emotions? Right. How am I handling them? Are they in balance? So that everything is working as effectively as they can be with my team.
Yeah. So. And what are those team's emotions? Am I able to recognize those? Right.
Yes.
Yes. So many times those people in senior leadership roles, there is so much on them, but they also have to understand that we are all human. We're going to bring our humanness into those boardrooms, into those team meetings, and and really recognizing who's around the table and truly having those, skills of listening and, all the things that we as coaches do. We look at our role as to also be teaching leaders, how to have some of those skills and be able to develop those. And that emotional intelligence certainly is high on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And we've talked about this before, Kelly, that we as team coaches have to help the team to develop real psychological safety within the confines of that team, so that the diverse voices that are hopefully on the team can all be heard equally, as opposed to I better not say that, even though it's on my. Those are the ideas that help the team to move forward. The ones that are often unspoken. And it's our job as team coaches to help the team develop that psychological safety and feel so free to voice their views and so forth. Huge.
Yeah, it is huge. And when we think about, either the team leader or, if it's the CEO, really being the example of showing, what openness looks like, what those listening skills look like, how they can have a debrief of the data that came down from maybe some diagnostics and be open, to those conversations that have to be had. Mm-hmm. And there is a balancing act there for team leaders, for senior leaders to demonstrate how they want their team to actually be operating as well.
That's right. And, the types of questions that are being asked now that, the kind of the future back way of looking at things. And, how do we get to this future point in time that's oftentimes difficult to predict, is a real challenge for leaders. So,
yeah. And it's not, the CEO has the vision, but CEOs also need to, everybody needs to be on board with that vision in order for it to move forward. And so really developing and understanding the direction the CEO wants to go, and how do we do that with a team, and how can we help position the team to be on board with the direction of the organization that the CEO sees as that vision.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that future.
And there's, it's interesting that there's almost different levels of vision and purpose as well. There's the organizational purpose and mission, and then there's the team purpose and mission, and those are not identical. Those can be very, very different. The company is in business because of X, but the team is in existence because of Y. It's a different purpose, and that has to be considered when as the team is developing, for sure. Yeah.
Woo. We both get excited when we're talking about
ready to go and move some mountains, Kelly. I put a paper out recently on the unique experiences of first-time CEOs. And I kind of regret that title a little bit, because it really should be for CEOs, because even longtime CEOs things are changing so much that I think that it's almost like a brand new world out there for CEOs. But there's a couple of things that I think are very, very important, and that is to if you're not focused on the care and feeding of your team, and your mindset is not on leading through that team, then I think that you're missing an opportunity for significant positive change within the organization, being able to handle the ambiguity that we see. So that's one thing that I would recommend. The other is that most of the CEOs that I know have a coach. There are still a subset of organizations that and the CEOs that see coaching as a remedial or performance related issue. That's not current thinking at all in the leadership development world. Every CEO needs a coach. And I would recommend, if you don't have a coach, get a coach. If you have a coach that is providing you with value and making you see the bigger picture of the world, keep that coach at all costs. Keep that relationship going. And the other recommendation is to bring the board, create the team atmosphere, a common purpose, and so forth. Bring the board into this discussion of how the board can help support the ESG movement that is going on, and the new way of having to lead organizations these days.
Yes. That is great advice. Yeah. And when it comes to we as coaches have coaches. It's just how we work. A good coach is going to have a coach, so CEOs, C-suite and down, it's not just for remedial. We want to partner with you. We want to bring you on your journey, because each journey is different, and each CEO, each C-suite person, each team is going to be different. And so it is up to a coach to come alongside and meet that leader where they're at, and to be able to journey along and partner with them. And one of the things that I've heard is, well, we have an internal coach on staff, and that is wonderful. There is opportunity to partner with an internal coach, but what we find is that many times with executive leaders, they don't want somebody in the organization for reasons such as it might be confidentiality, not really wanting to divulge certain things to an internal person. And that is where an external coach really comes in and is able to, have a new set of eyes. And again, it's not that an internal coach is any less with their education or with their training as a coach, but it just might be the fit. It all goes back to that fit and relationship and what your expectation is of the coach that you engage with.
That's exactly right. And if it's a quality coach, that coach is also going to be coaching the leader to develop the leader as coach concept of how they lead. The aspect of powerful questions, and you talked earlier about listening. It's the listening and active listening. The difference between those is literally the difference between night and day, and I call it intentional listening.
Yes.
And, how often do we listen in order to respond, as opposed to listen to really truly understand? And that's a skill that has to be developed, and it's one that I think we will all struggle with as we continue to make our journey in leadership. So.
Yes, we have two ears for a reason.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We need to use both of them.
That's right. That's right.
It's because we need help more, with the listening and being able to, as people who know me, I've said this story before. I had to learn to just pretend like I had a piece of duct tape on my mouth, just so I could I would do this. And then it got to the point where it's just in my mind, I will envision I have a piece of duct tape over my mouth. Yes. I am just listening. So whatever tricks you need for yourself, I would encourage you, to really heighten those listening skills and being able to reflect back and really hear your people leaders. They have just words of wisdom, to be relaying to you if, as you said, we create this atmosphere, this environment of psychological safety where they feel that they can come to you and say what's on their heart. And you as a leader can just, take a step back and be able to listen and really hear what your people are saying.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's it. That's exactly right, Kelly. And it's each one of us as an exercise. If you're in a conversation with anybody, it could be personal or business. Pay attention on a conversation or two today to. Am I listening in order to respond, or am I listening to truly understand what this individual is saying, what the emotions are, what I'm reading about their body language, and the somatic aspects of it? Pay attention to one conversation and ask yourself the question: am I listening here to respond, or am I listening to truly understand? And put yourself, that's the concept of empathy.
That's right.
Anyway, we could go on all day with this stuff. I know, that's for sure. And we've done that before, I believe.
Yes,
Kelly. We've had these kind of conversations that I've really valued, really have.
Yes. Me too.
I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you. And likewise, this was a terrific conversation. I know a lot of really good information for leaders and teams to really tune into and implement great tips. I would love to be able to connect people to you, Gary. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to hear more about what you offer, have a conversation with you?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time communicating on LinkedIn and putting content into the market and so forth. And I would if you have an interest in just just having a general discussion, much like this one, I'm open to that for individuals just to talk about leadership, because like I said, I think that the world is experiencing a leadership crisis, and everything the issues that we have and the lack of working together has flowed down from poor leadership. And if we can make a dent, you and I, in that, then we've done a great thing.
That's right. That's right. Well, you heard it here, folks. Go ahead and connect with Gary on LinkedIn. He'd love to further the conversation with you. He is open to that. And I just want to thank you again for coming on Conversations and really unpacking this passion that you have for, not only first-time CEOs, but CEOs in general, team coaching, executive coaching. It's all this amazing work that you do, and I am so glad to be part of your journey. As together, we're developing our team coaching and things like that. So thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, and right back at you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Until next time, this is Dr. Kelly Whalen. Keep doing great things because our world needs leaders like you.